We'll go through our predictions of some postseason awards like All NBA and All Defense and debate if any Heat player might get some well-deserved recognition. Plus, with the Denver Nuggets surprisingly clearing out the front office, we wonder, does Erik Spoelstra really have job security? We'll answer that and more on today's episode of Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat, whether you're tuning in on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. I'm Wes Goldberg here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat media members who cover this team every day. For daily content on the Heat, click that subscribe button on YouTube. Make sure you're following us on your favorite podcast app and on your favorite newsletter, introducing the Locked On Heat daily newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Heat newsletter. Have a great show for you today, but before we get into which Heat players are in the mix for end-of-season awards and an important streak that could come to an end for Bam Adebayo, I want to get to this question from Adam, who writes in, with Michael Malone and Taylor Jenkins surprisingly getting fired, are we wrong to assume that the Heat would never fire Spo, even if things don't turn around next season? David, what do you think? Because you've got Jenkins getting fired with 9 games left in the regular season. Then the Denver Nuggets were like, hold my course, not to be outdone. They fire Malone with 4 games left to go in the regular season. It just feels like all the time we're getting shocked, stunned, surprised by this league.
Yeah,
I'd be surprised, but like I just said, we can continuously get surprised in the NBA. I think it's a fair question to ask.
Oh, absolutely. It's hard to fathom the reasons that would lead to a dismissal of Erik Spoelstra. For one, I think the Taylor Jenkins one is probably a little bit more surprising, or at least I haven't heard anything necessarily, maybe you have, regarding why Memphis was looking to clean slate there. I don't know if they just needed a new voice. I think from what I've heard, the owner really liked the interim coach and really strongly recommended his addition to the coaching staff. So it was kind of almost like, I'm hiring your successor. Right. You better get used to it. Don't mess up. If you have any sign of a weakness, any chink in the armor whatsoever, there's somebody that I like waiting in the wings. And I think that's kind of how that played out in Memphis. I don't think there was any kind of wrongdoing on Jenkins' part, or
it sounded like there was also some stuff between Kleiman, the GM in Memphis, and Jenkins, like some disagreements there. And there were arguments with players on the sideline, and they were losing to good teams. And
sure,
the season wasn't going the way that they wanted it to go. And I think you could say the same thing about Denver. Yeah, they're the 4th seed in the Western Conference, but
right.
You and I have been watching the Nuggets all season too. They don't look like a team that can win a championship this year. They're the 20th ranked defense in the league. They seem a notch below where they're supposed to be. And I think everybody was still pretty surprised though that Malone got fired when he did.
No doubt. But also I think enough people on the inside kind of indicated that there was a growing tension there between the front office, Calvin Booth specifically, and Michael Malone, the direction of the team and things of that sort. And so with this kind of losing streak hanging, they've lost 4 in a row. I guess kind of with that hanging there over this team, they just decided, you know what, let's just go ahead and clean slate right now. Very surprising. I think that's the surprising thing. And I don't know that I don't think NBA teams, as much as they claim that they want to run like a business, I don't think they necessarily run like a business to that point where they just say, nope, we're just tired of having this person around. We're going to cut bait right now. Like, what's the point? Like, I don't know that David Adelman, and I know this is kind of a long-winded explanation here. What is Adelman going to do that's going to suddenly propel this team into being a contending team that Michael Malone hasn't done? Plus, Malone's actually won a title. So it just seems like a strange decision to make with so few games left in the regular season, hoping for some kind of playoff push. But to that point, though,
when you look at Eric, because we're less than 2 years away since Malone beat the Heat with the Nuggets in the finals. Like, this just happened to but you look at the common thread between what happened in Memphis and Denver, and it's that the head coach wasn't getting along with the general manager. And
that's it.
In Memphis, the general manager Kleiman might have said, well, I'm not going to fire me, so I'm going to fire you. And we see that happen across sports all the time. The GM, once their seat gets a little warm, they fire the head coach to see if the head coach can kind of save their job a little bit. Now, I'm not reporting anything that Kleiman's job is in jeopardy, but we see this all the time. And then in Denver, the Kroenkes obviously just the Kroenkes are basically he's the guy driving the car, and you've got Calvin Booth and Michael Malone arguing in the back seat, and he says, "I'm going to turn." He finally just turned the car around, right?
That's right.
And he says, "You're both out of here. Get out." So that was the extent of that. Whereas in Miami, Erik Spoelstra has a great working relationship with Andy Ellisberg, Adam Simon, Pat Riley, all these people, and so there's other reasons why coaches could get fired. But that wouldn't be a reason why, if in this hypothetical scenario, Spo did get fired. I don't think
that's exactly it. Like I know that we've belabored this point before, but just for people who don't understand, like the kind of consistency that Miami's front office has, just you can't find it anywhere. I think our colleague Tim Reynolds tweeting out that only San Antonio, Golden State, and Miami are the only teams that haven't gone through a coaching change since the pandemic. We're talking 4 years.
Yeah, but Michael Malone was part of that though. In that there was always like 4 that they've been with their team for a decade. There was 4 coaches that were always, and Malone was the newest in that club, but he was in the club. And I think when I saw that's what I think inspired this question from Adam was, well, the Taylor Jenkins thing, that's one thing. You could debate his success and whether or not he should have gotten fired. He wasn't there for that long. I mean, he was the all-time winningest coach in Grizzlies history, so he was there for a while. But Malone was part of the club with Steve Kerr, Greg Popovich, and Erik Spoelstra, and now he got fired. And so I think you look and say, what's going on with that club?
In Miami, though, I think that they've appointed Spo to be the spokesperson for the front office and to be that one singular voice that you hear. And that's what leaves Ellisberg and Riles and Simon kind of in the background. So you don't have to see exactly what happens. They're not necessarily behind the curtains, but they're doing their jobs. And they kind of stay out of the way. And for the most part, they allow Spo to be Spo. And it's worked. And I think there's a synergy there. There's a consistency. There's an open line of communication. There's shared respect. This isn't like, oh, we just brought this person in midway, or Booth was suddenly, in Booth's case, like he was promoted to general manager. And maybe that's why he didn't necessarily get along with Malone. Like Riles has been there for as long as he has. Again, 30 years now. Spo's been there for a long time. Ellisberg's been there for a long time. All these people have been there for such a long time that there's this consistency of a shared vision of what this team wants to do and how they operate, that while they still keep things fresh and make whatever changes are necessary, I think for the most part, they just don't want to make a change for change's sake. And I couldn't see I don't know what it would take. Like Jimmy Butler in that situation was probably as toxic as it could possibly get. And if that hasn't cost Spo his job, nothing's going to at this point in time. Like I don't even think, again, that wasn't even necessarily a reflection on Spo. I'm just saying that maybe the way he handled Jimmy, or the way he kind of demoted him at one point, or told him he was coming off the bench.
Well, you see star players leave and then coaches get fired. It just seems to be an NBA pattern. Whether or not the coach deserves it or not. Like no coach has ever survived coaching LeBron James except for Erik Spoelstra. And it's not that LeBron will leave the organization and that coach will hang around for a year or two, and then that coach will get fired because the team is just going in a new direction. And Erik Spoelstra has constantly reinvented himself along with the Miami Heat, as the front office in tandem reinvent the Miami Heat alongside with them. But I'm listening to a Michael Malone press conference a couple weeks ago, and he says something to the effect of, "I just have no more answers."
Yeah.
And Erik Spoelstra gave a very similar quote during the 10-game losing streak, where he's like, "I have no more answers." That's the kind of quote. I'm not saying Malone got fired because he said that, but that's sort of the whole job, is to have answers, or at least to make them up. Yes, there's stability and there's consistency, but sometimes that's also a reason they get fired. You hear it all the time. The coach has lost the locker room. They're not responding to his voice anymore. You hear that stuff after 3-4 years, let alone 20 years in the case of Erik Spoelstra. And so I would be shocked if Spo got fired. I do not predict it. I don't think that they should. I think that there's I think Erik Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA still. But here's the big reason why I don't see this happening. A year ago, the Heat just gave him an 8-year, $120 million contract extension, making him the highest paid coach in North American sports history. So I don't think they want to burn that money just yet. So that's the main reason why. Plus
And
the fact that he's still
who's
the
going to
best coach in the league.
replace him that's going to be significantly better?
Nobody.
Like,
And
look,
that's why
Spo
every
has
time
his
I hear the fire
warts.
Spo stuff from fans, I'm like, who do you want? Mark Jackson? Like, what do you want?
Yeah, the guy from Dan Hurley, like he's going to come in here and save this organization, right? Like, I mean, like they're already talking about Taylor Jenkins replacing Michael Malone, and isn't that kind of just like moving deck chairs a little bit? I still remember when Malone was fired from the Sacramento Kings and wondering what the hell that was all about. Like he was the one coach who had managed to get along well with Boogie Cousins and get the most out of him, and they were like, no, not good enough. We want to fire you anyway. It's like, all right, I guess. I mean, that's the way you want to play it. And Sacramento has been Sacramentoing all over ever since. So, that's what you get. So I just don't see
no,
it.
we're fortunate to at least, I'm with you. I don't know why teams change coaches so much. I mean, I do know why. It's the easiest thing to switch out. They're not beholden to the CBA or the salary cap. You do wish that these coaches would be given a little bit more of a chance, especially a guy who's less than 2 years removed from a championship and Michael Malone. But, it is what it is. And that's what makes teams like Miami and San Antonio and Golden State special is that they're willing to stick to their guys even in losing seasons. And I think even if the Heat were to be below 500 next year, depending on the circumstances, I just have a really hard time seeing Spoelstra getting fired.
You know why Spo won't get fired? Because he's never won Coach of the Year, and the Coach of the Year curse continues, right? I mean, that's what it is.
That's the secret to Spo's success.
Like he doesn't even want it. He's like,
speaking of awards, Tyler Herro on the long list for All NBA. I think he's the clear pick for a different award. We'll tell you what it is. We'll get into all our All NBA picks after this here on Locked On Heat.
Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health. You like going to the gym, right? Well, guess what? Therapy is just as important. Traditional in-person therapy can be expensive, however, often ranging from about $100 to $250 per session. And that's where BetterHelp comes in. With online therapy, you get quality care at a price that makes sense, saving you time and money. Therapy isn't just for life's toughest moments. It can help with everyday stress, learning how to set boundaries, or developing positive coping skills. Having access to support when you need it can make a big difference. Your well-being is worth it. So make sure to go visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnBA today, and you get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. We'll be right back.
Thanks again for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on your favorite podcast app. We're going to jump into some NBA award talk. I don't know if we're not going to get to all of it here, but we're going to get to the stuff that Heat players are sort of in the mix for. And let's start with All NBA because I've been kind of working on my ballot all season, my fake ballot all season. And as I do. And I feel really comfortable with 14 of the 15 guys. Now, there's a couple of players whose games played stuff are still a little up in the air, but I think that they're going to get there. Jalen Brunson, kind of being the main one there. But Tyler Herro, all-star, having a strong season. I haven't really heard him in terms when you kind of read other people's articles on this stuff, listen to other podcasts. I don't hear Tyler Herro being mentioned for All NBA, but you feel like he should be at least in the mix.
Yeah, I've got him as my 15th selection, actually. And it's kind of a toss-up between him and Trae Young in terms of their overall production and everything else. But when you look at Young and his numbers as an incredible assist, ratio this year, but also more turnovers, getting to the line more, mostly due to flopping and things of that sort. And just, in terms of his shooting percentage being perhaps a career worst.
Yeah.
I think that Herro's production and what he's been able to do, and we talk about this all the time, the context of their individual seasons, like the Jimmy Butler drama, everything else, like the consistency of what Tyler has done should be noted and it should be awarded because he has been stellar, not just starting strong, going through some rough patches, and as this season of development and growth has tested him more than he ever has been. And to finish up strong the way he has and be the leading scorer the way he has for this team, to be as productive and continuously improve within the context of a season that's been very difficult and challenging, that's All NBA to me.
All right, well, let's back up a little bit then. So you've got Tyler Herro and Trae Young. You're sort of debating for your 15th spot. But what were your three teams before you kind of got to that 15th spot? Just do them quickly.
My first team: Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Giannis, Kate Cunningham and Kevin Durant as my first team.
Whoa, no Tatum or Donovan Mitchell?
No, they're on my second team. Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, and then I've got Steph, Jalen Brunson, and Karl Anthony Towns on my second team.
Okay, so I've got SGA, Mitchell, Tatum, Giannis, Jokic as my first team All NBA, and then
I don't see what's Jason Tatum done. Like that, my reason for leaving Tatum off, and I can make the case for Mitchell. His numbers haven't been as great as they've been, but again, a really good team. You got Garland, you got Mobley, you got Jared Allen, etc. Like it's the same argument against Tatum. Like he's putting up pretty good numbers, maybe the best numbers on that team, sure, but you can't do the same thing that you did a couple seasons ago with Marcus Smart winning Defensive Player of the Year. It's like, are you all good or are none of you good? Because then how do you carry a team and how do you say Jason Tatum?
I think Tatum has carried the Celtics. I don't think Boston's been all that good this year. I think Drew Holiday's been worse. I think Derek White's been worse. I think Jaylen Brown's been worse. Tatum has been clearly the best player. And he's sort of become one of the guys who I kind of trust the most with the ball in his hands. He's become a really good decision maker. And I think defensively he's been awesome. I think Tatum's fair. And the numbers back him up too. And then Donovan Mitchell, his numbers are down, but I'm rewarding him for that. He's taken a step back. He's led Cleveland. All the advanced metrics kind of point to him as being the most important Cav, as good as Mobley and Garland has been this year, and Jared Allen. I love Donovan Mitchell's season. I think he's just been so mature with that team, and he's sort of the driving force behind it. So I didn't overthink my first team. I just went with the 5 guys who are probably going to finish top 5 in MVP. But second team, I have very similar names to you. I have Ant, Steph, Cade. I have LeBron and Mobley. So I don't have Durant in my first or my second team.
Okay.
But who's your third team?
LeBron, Ant, Mobley.
Okay.
And then I've got Jaren Jackson Jr. and then 15th spot, Tyler Herro over Trae Young.
So you don't have... Did you have Steph?
Yeah, second team. Tatum, Mitchell, Steph, Brunson. I do not have Tyrese on there. The first early season struggles are too glaring for me.
Fair enough. Did you have LeBron?
Yes, third team.
Okay. And you had Mobley?
Yep, third team also alongside Ant.
So who do you have that I don't have? What was your third team again?
LeBron, Anthony Edwards, Evan Mobley, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Tyler.
Oh, you have
Herro.
Cat. I'm sorry. Wait, no,
I've got Cat on my second team.
I have Cat on my third
You
team.
don't have Cat.
Right. I don't know where we're different. Kevin Durant. You have Durant. I don't have Durant as a shoo-in. Okay.
You don't have him on any of your teams?
He's on my very short list for third team. So I don't know if he's gonna qualify?
Yeah, his numbers have been ridiculous.
Is he at 65 games?
Yeah, I think so.
He's at 62 games. So he's one of these guys who have an asterisk next to him and Brunson. So they still need to qualify.
I misread that. I thought maybe I misread that then.
He's probably going to qualify. Sounds like he's going to come back, but if he doesn't, he might get left off here.
Well, I've got him on my first team, so I'd have to shift everybody up, I guess. I guess Tatum would get that by default then.
So I've got on also my short list. You've got Herro and Trae Young. I think Pascal Siakam's been great. I think Halliburton's been really good the way that he's finished the year. Garland, James Harden is kind of on that list, but not really. I got Zubac. I think he's been awesome. I think he's been an All-NBA kind of guy this year. So
he's on my ballot for something else, but no, not third team All-NBA.
So I think Herro is in the running here. I think he should be in the mix. Can I tell you what award I think he should be the leader for? And I haven't heard his name talked about even once.
Yes.
How is this guy not in the mix for most improved? You look at the FanDuel odds, and it's Dyson Daniels, it's Ty Jerome, it's Peyton Pritchard, it's Cade Cunningham. And just real quick on most improved, I don't know when it became this award for top 5 player taking the leap we all expected him to take. We should have gotten away. We should have done away with that as soon as John Morant got named most improved and then mailed the award to Desmond Bane, who should have won it that year. We're voting. Cade's going to win it. I think it's going to be him or Mobley. And it's just like, these guys were top 3 picks. Why is this surprising at all? This is ridiculous. It doesn't go to the spirit of what this award was created for even a little bit.
Right.
I'm against it. Herro is a lottery pick, but he's outside the top 10. And what has impressed me so much with Herro is, and look, I think Zubac could be in the running for this. I think Ty Jerome could be in the running for this. I think Austin Reeves can be in the running for this. I think he's taken a really big leap forward this year. I think there's a lot of guys who have a claim at this. But to me, I don't think anybody's improved more from where they were to where they are than Tyler Herro. And if people want to just look at the counting stats, fine. 20 points a game to 23 points per game or whatever he's at now. Maybe that doesn't jump off the page to you. But you watch Heat games, you look at the increased three-point shooting, you look at all of the stuff that he's done, and you just don't see players. And here's my biggest part of the argument. Players 6 years into their career who have won a Sixth Man of the Year award, who have been on 2 finals teams and have signed $100 million contracts. You don't see, and were lottery picks. You don't see those players more than half a decade into their career say, not good enough. I'm going to go back into the lab and I'm going to change all of it. And that's what Tyler Herro did. He changed his shot chart to be more efficient, which he didn't have to do. He did that and became a better player and got rewarded with an all-star, his first all-star because of it. He got better. He got stronger physically, and he's played more games and more minutes than he ever has in his career. He's top 10 in minutes played this season, which is a huge difference from where this guy was. I mean, that could just be that alone, just going from always hurt and not playing a lot to never hurt and playing top 10 minutes in the league this season, total minutes.
Not fragile anymore, right, Pat Riley? I mean,
that alone could be a reason for most improved. But the fact that you just have the new efficiencies and the mindset shift that he's had, you just don't see that with players as accomplished as Herro is, and making the money that he's making and this far into their career. You just don't see players do that, right? Yeah. I just think he's, to me, the clearest. He should be the clearest guy for most improved, and I don't know why he's not being talked about for this award. Well, I do, because we screwed up the meaning of the award. But if we actually got back to what the meaning of this award should be, Tyler Herro is the favorite to me.
Yeah, it is really ridiculous. I'm glad you brought that up, because that idea that it's like, oh, you get from really, really, really good to a smidge better. It's like, oh, hey, that's it. You're the most improved player. It's like, finally you became the superstar. Last year,
what really happened
was
the John Morant year, where they said the hardest leap to make is from good to great. And it's like, okay, but come on. Mike Shearer, who contributes weekly to the Locked On podcast newsletter, he calls it MVP Junior. And I love that, because that's basically what it is. It's just like the Junior MVP award. And I'm like, that's not what the award is.
Yeah, I've got Zubac as most improved, because I think he went from being like a really okay role player to, like, as you said, like really good. That's a much more impressive leap to me. Although I think you can make a case for Norm Powell too. Like, I mean,
well, you've got Herro on your All NBA team.
Yes,
he went from non-All-Star,
but he was in the
All
consideration
NBA for you.
Yeah, I get it. But I also think that the numbers this year have been fantastic, no doubt. But I think he put up really good numbers last year. So I think that leap is probably not, maybe not. I don't want to say it's not as great as you're making it seem, but I think he was closer to being a really good player last year, despite the general consensus that he wasn't.
He also went from third option on offense last year to first. That's really hard to do.
It is a big transition. I get it. To me, the most improved the spirit of the award should be more about from absolute scrub to, hey, that's a pretty damn good player. Not, Zubac, hey, that's a pretty damn good player. It's like, wow, huh?
Zubac used to be a scrub. He wasn't a scrub last year. I mean, I know the Lakers traded him for what's his face a few years ago.
He's made a heck of a leap.
He has. He's been a top 5 center in the league this year. He's been awesome. So I've got him second behind Herro. I'm not gonna, we're splitting hairs here, but you're doing a Heat podcast. You should probably just say Herro's number 1, and we should move on.
You're right. Give it to Herro. Who knows? Most improved. Love your team. Love your game, Tyler. This isn't hating on him either. I know. Again, I think he
would actually probably hate getting this award.
Probably, yeah, because I think that's what I'm saying. It's like, to me, it's more complimentary to recognize he was close enough last year to being that kind of all-starish type player. And I know people might roll their eyes at that, but I think we had conversations last season where he was dynamic, where he was being really explosive, and then he got hurt and everything kind of derailed from there. But he was really, really good. And now that he's just become a much more consistent option, the first option, etc. Yes, I could see he's made a huge leap in and of itself, but also within the context of where he was last year, it's just, I don't know.
We just got to get him on ballots. We got to get him on ballots.
He should get recognition. I think he deserves it.
Let's move on to all defense. Will Bam's all defense streak come to an end? It's probably going to happen. I'll tell you why after this.
Today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. I think it is anyway. Yeah, that's right. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Now, investing does involve risk. Rate subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. We'll be right back.
Thanks again for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. The playoff race is heating up for the Heat as the season winds down. Can they secure a play-in spot? Stay in the know with Locked On Heat, the Locked On Heat podcast newsletter, and get a chance to win one of these amazing prizes by subscribing. You can get a $2,500 Best Buy gift card to upgrade your Sports Cave setup, or a $300 Game Time gift card, or maybe a $200 Fanatics gift card. Sign up between April 7th and April 30th of this year to be entered. Our Heat newsletter delivers real-time updates, expert analysis, and playoff insights tailored for you. Subscribe now for free to the Locked On Heat podcast newsletter and stay ahead as the season unfolds. Subscribe today at LockedOnDaily.com. You can click the link in the description to enter. So a couple other things that I want to get to here. Bam and Kel'el, they're also going to be in the mix for some awards at the end of the season. We'll start with Bam. He's not going to be in the mix for Defensive Player of the Year. He's not. He is in the mix for All Defense. And again, scrolling through the articles, listening to podcasts, a lot of people are still mentioning Bam for All Defense, even though I don't know that they're going to have him on their ultimate ballot. There's 2 All Defensive teams, so it's different than All NBA, and it is positionless now. So you've got 2 positionless All Defensive teams. It feels like Bam might be on the bubble for a lot of voters, based on just like my own anecdotal kind of perusing of stuff. But he's made All Defense 5 years in a row, and I'm worried that this streak is going to come to an end, in part because he might just be punished for this disappointing Heat season, although I don't think you can blame Bam for the season going the way it's gone.
No, I agree 100%. It's just no one cares about the Heat outside of Miami Heat fans. They are not, as much as they might be one of the more alluring teams around the league, or they kind of, peripheral. Oh yeah, the Miami Heat, they were pretty good. I think that Jimmy Butler was the name that defined his team, and with him gone and everything else that's split between those two, I think it's taken away a lot of the attention from this team. And look, the record reflects that they haven't been very good. I mean, I don't know that. You don't really care too much about play-in teams or below 500 teams. Like, there's not a lot of juice regarding Trae Young or, Josh Giddey or Kobe White.
No, the only reason Dyson Daniels is in the Defensive Player of the Year mix, and I shouldn't say the only reason, he's been awesome this year, but he's going to do something that hasn't been done in the league in 20 years in terms of the amount of steals that he's getting. So again, very deserving, but it takes that kind of thing to get people's attention.
Right. And then look, with our conversation with Davion Mitchell last week, does Bam put up the kind of numbers that would stand out? Like, even if the team was bad and you could point to it and say, whoa, Bam's averaging 2.5 blocks per game, that would be amazing. And that would be, very, very impressive. And maybe you could make an argument that he could be getting that kind of recognition as an all defensive player, but that's just that's not his game. His game is shutting people down, whether you're a guard or a center, and making life more difficult for you, and being an excellent help defender and challenging everybody within 20 feet of him, et cetera, et cetera. So that all those little reasons that are nuanced and don't have any kind of statistical impact, he's not going to get that recognition for. So that's part of the problem.
It requires you watching the games. And unfortunately, this is the weird thing about voter behavior too, is Bam started the year off so poorly offensively and then didn't make an all-star team that I think people are just assuming that he's having a bad year overall, where he's brought it defensively from the beginning of the season to this point. I'm telling you, I don't know how I'm going to order my 2 All-NBA teams right now. He's on it, right? He's probably going to be second team, but
all defense.
Yeah, there's not 10 better defenders in the league this season than Bam. However you want to put your teams together, whatever. I don't think anybody could tell me that there's been 10 guys who've been better defensively this year than Bam has. And like you said, though, it requires you watching Heat games. And when you were watching Heat games for the beginning of the year, Bam was so bad offensively that it sort of distracts you from what he's doing defensively. And then he doesn't go in the All-Star. And then for 2 months, everybody was just watching Jimmy Butler take a dump in the middle of the Kaseya Center court and not really paying attention to what Bam was doing defensively during those games. That it was just all these things were so distracting of what Bam does. But, you know, people who watch this team every day and watch every game, I think understand it. And by the way, voters who I think really do appreciate and do watch the Heat, right, and do pay attention, they are talking about Bam in the mix. So he's going to get votes. I just don't know if it's going to be enough to get him on the ultimate all-defensive team. And I think his streak of 5 straight years on all defense is going to come to an end, and I think it's going to be wrong. I think we're going to look back and be like, he probably should have been on that team, and that streak came to an end for no reason. But let's move on to Kel'el Ware here. So he's also in the mix for all-rookie. I think this is probably the surest of the things here. Whether it's first team or second team, it doesn't really matter. He's going to make one of these teams. Again, doing a perusing of other people's stuff and voters and looking at where they're kind of leaning, he's going to be on one of these 2 teams. And I think he's going to get a lot of first-team votes, too.
Yeah, I think he's definitely been one of the top, I'd have to say 6 or 7 rookies. I mean, you can have him as much. Yeah, you can have him 5th, maybe even creeping up on 4th to some degree as your 4th best rookie. But probably 5th, more than likely, as your kind of your high ceiling there. And then certainly your 6th best or 7th. So it's going to be a mix of votes. And if he gets just enough of the more higher number or the lower number there, then he might get that kind of recognition that I think he's earned. I have him as one of the top 5 rookies too, although I kind of split that as well. Yeah, with him.
What's your first team?
Let's see, who do I have on my first team? I've got Stephon Castle, Zachary Risacher, Jalen Wells, Zach Edey, and I gave him, his numbers aren't significantly better than Ware's, but he started. He started a team that's gone through the coaching change, that has gone through the John Moran issues, that has gone through all these things. And that kind of means something to me. And I know it's not Ware's fault because he was kind of buried on the bench, but he was buried on the bench because he wasn't ready. And you know, now that he is and he's shown it, I think he's improved, and that he's become, in my opinion, the 5th best rookie. Although he might share that honor with Yves Missi, who has done a phenomenal job of being really consistent. A one kind of small bright spot in a really, really dark, terrible New Orleans Pelicans season. And again, to that same point,
did you have Ware on your first team then?
Yes, I have Ware. It's over.
So you had Edey and Ware. That was confusing. Okay, so you had Edey and Ware. Okay,
correct.
So you were really splitting hairs between Ware and Missi then.
Yes,
that was the decision at the end of the day. Okay,
correct.
I see where you're coming from. Okay, Yves Missi was my guy going into the draft. Kel'el Ware was not, but I do. I have the same top 5 as you do. I have the same first team. Second team, I had Missi. I have Jared McCain, even though he barely played. I just think he was easily the best rookie of the class in the 20 games he did. He would have won it. And there's no rules. So there's no 65 game limit or anything like that for all rookie. But
really, there isn't.
No, these rookies barely play anyway. So it'd be like every year there'd be like 3 guys who qualify if you made them play the 65 games.
See, I didn't know that. I might have put him at first team then.
McCain, yeah, maybe, but he still only played 20 games. At some point, that does matter. So I had McCain, Missi, Sarr. I think I have Sarr. I'm gonna go Bazelis, even though it was a rough start. He finished the year really strong for Chicago.
Yeah,
and then I'm sort of between Bub Carrington and Isaiah Collier. Quentin Post with like an honorable mention, but he hasn't quite gotten there for me yet. So I'd probably go Carrington, even though I really feel bad about having 2 Wizards on my team for some reason, but whatever. Give me really quick did you have an all defensive team?
No, I did not.
Okay, then we don't have to do that. Okay. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on your favorite podcast app.